Hello and welcome to Exchange for Media. Today we have with us Mr. Girish Raman, Vice President, Brand Operations and Category Leader, Feminine Care P&G India. Welcome to Exchange for Media, Girish.
Thank you so much for having me. It's my pleasure.
Well, congratulations on the new campaign, first of all, that you've launched today, which is all about bridging the invisible gap. Shiksha was launched as a CSR initiative in 2005, and it has evolved into this holistic educational program for underprivileged children. So just if you can tell us about the campaign, Bridging the Invisible Gap, and what are the key areas of focus when it comes to the invisible gaps that we talk about?
Thank you so much for the question. Before I talk about the invisible gap and the latest edition of the campaign, I also want to sort of talk about a little bit the overall journey on Shiksha. It's been a very gratifying journey for us. Shiksha, we started in 2005. And back then, in the initial years, the focus on Shiksha was always to focus on bringing access to education to underprivileged kids, in line with the government Sarva Shiksha Abhiyan at that point in time. And over time, we've now evolved Shiksha into a more holistic program that focuses on improving learning outcomes via a combination of remediating learning gaps, strengthening education infrastructure, and empowering marginalized communities. This year, so over 18 years now, Shiksha has built and supported over 3,000 schools in the country and positively impacted more than 35 lakh children in the country. Right. So it's been a great, humbling and gratifying journey. And we know that there is so much more to go and there is so much more opportunity to keep doing this. This year specifically on the Invisible Gap campaign that we've just kicked off, it started from a very real, very simple insight that many children across the country struggle to keep up with what is being taught in class. Right. I have been through this. I'm sure many of us we can all relate to this. It could start with one difficult concept. It could start with one subject, one specific class, and it could give way to a larger issue where the child develops a gap in the fundamentals of understanding. It could be, in many cases, perceived to be a lack of seriousness on the part of the child. It could be perceived as the child being, naughty or mischievous and so on. But the underlying problem is that there is a learning gap that is opening up, right? Yeah. And if it is not addressed, unfortunately, in many cases, it could lead to even children dropping out of school eventually, right? So that's kind of the starting point of this. The protagonist in the film itself that we launched today is a girl called Bindya who goes through a similar situation, but she's not alone. There are more than 6 crore children in the country who go through similar struggles with learning gaps on their own. And the aim for the Shiksha campaign of this year is to really make this invisible gap visible by creating awareness around the concept, by trying to drive a deeper understanding of what children go through, and then sort of urging meaningful action, right? So that's kind of what we're trying to do this year. And we're working with all our partners, be it our NGO partners, our media partners, our retail partners, etc., to bridge this invisible gap. And we feel like there is so much more opportunity to drive better understanding and seek action.
Great. That's a great initiative. So your brand support quality education for children pan-India. So would you like to share with us, which brand has yielded the maximum results to you so far?
No, I think in this case, it's actually a very different program, right? PNG Shiksha is our corporate social program, and therefore it is headlined by all our brands. It's supported by all PNG brands. We are fronting this effort as an entire PNG family, right? And the results that we look at on this program are typically in the kind of impact we are able to create out there. And like I told you, for over 2 decades, the fact that we've been able to build over 3,000 schools and positively impact over 35 lakh children, that's what we look at as results when we talk PNG Shiksha. This year, our focus will also be to look at the kind of conversation we are able to kickstart with the concept of the invisible gap, and therefore look at how many parents and how many guardians we are able to touch and sort of push to action to help those around them.
Okay, and Girish, if I may ask you, how has this initiative helped in strengthening the educational infrastructure?
Like I said, we started with a very strong focus on building schools and classrooms, right? Many years ago on Shiksha. And today, while there is a lot of access to schools, often the infrastructure, has opportunity to be better and often not conducive to learning, right? Of all the many partners that we work with on Shiksha, one of our partners is the NGO called Roundtable India, right? And where we are enhancing education infrastructure in very different ways. We work with Roundtable India. We do things like building classrooms. We partner with them on building playgrounds. In many cases, bringing clean, hygienic drinking water to schools. In a few cases, building separate toilets for boys and girls. And you would agree with me that each of these interventions, helps push a little forward, improving quality of education and making the school a place that is more conducive to learning, right? Now, so these are a few things that we kind of do. Uh, we also realize that post pandemic especially, there is so much opportunity and so much schooling has moved online, but there is a huge part of the country, a huge section of the population for who that is still a luxury. Right. So we've also collaborated with many other partners, one of them being educational educational initiatives, who have this tool called MindSpark, which is a computer-based adaptive learning tool where we see, children loving the fact that they're able to learn in a far more engaging and a far more entertaining manner, and sort of keep coming back to, how can I spend more time on this tool to learn, right? So in many ways of building physical infrastructure as well as in enabling digital and technology based learning, I think we've been trying to sort of lead the conversation on many of these fronts, and I know that there is so much more opportunity to keep doing this.
Great. So each time a consumer buys a PNG product, the proceeds go towards educating underprivileged children. That's what Shiksha has been about. How much proceeds have gone so far? If we ask you, like, very straightforward, like if you could share any figures with us in the last 1 year or 5 years, any period.
Yeah, no, I mean, I don't want to share a specific figure on this one, but I can very confidently and comfortably say that, with Shiksha over the years, we've probably spent more than hundreds of crores that have gone into the cost of furthering education in the country, right? And all of this has been in the buckets that I spoke about, right? In building schools, has been spent in building schools, building classrooms, better laptops and toilets for kids and drinking water, and now all the digital, technology-based learning solutions that I talked about. This is where all of our investment has gone, and the impact is actually, very visible for us to see over the years. And I think it's very gratifying to see not just the numbers, but really the impact that we create in specific cases as well, right? I think the film that we did on Shiksha last year was a film which, was a specific true story of a girl called Shushila, who was a student in a Shiksha supported school and eventually has now gone on to become a teacher herself, right? And teaching hundreds of children, right? That is a beautiful story, the value of which you really can't put into numbers. So it's heartwarming to see many such specific cases when we visit schools and we listen to the teachers and we listen to, the members of the community and the children, speaking to us, and we see how things have changed from a few years ago. Is really gratifying and heartwarming for us.
Superb. And so, of course, I mean, you have an ad agency also. Who is the creative ad agency, and what was the kind of brief that was given to them to come out with such a beautiful campaign?
Yeah, thanks for asking that question. So we have quite a few partners that we work with in bringing Shiksha to life every year. This year, our creative agency partner was Leo Burnett. So we worked with the whole Leo Burnett team, and I'm immensely thankful to the entire team for bringing all this together. We also worked with our media partners, Mediacom, Group M. We work with social media partners, SocioWash, Madison, many partners internally and externally. We also have many retail partners who've also sort of extended their support to this initiative. And of course, every single P&G brand, is already supporting what we have in this initiative. To go to your second question on the brief, to the ad agency, it was very simple. We didn't change much in the brief, except that we said, instead of talking about the whole idea of building schools, how can we evolve that to a conversation of learning gaps, right? So that, I think, gave rise to the very powerful idea of the invisible gap. And I think then it all fell into place once the idea of the invisible gap kind of started. I remember that we got to the idea of the invisible gap in the very first meeting that we had with the agency. And I think it's been very smooth from then on, that once we were very clear on this larger idea, I think everything else is sort of fallen into place beautifully. Right. So our whole aim this year is really to make this invisible gap visible and really have conversations on what these are. And in fact, in our entire plan this year, we've also made it very easy for the larger public to engage and understand this better. Our website, pgshiksha.com, has a very easy to use sort of interface where people can learn more about what is an invisible gap and what kids are going through. But it also, interestingly, has what we call a baseline test, which is actually a test that you can take to identify learning gaps in children around you. And if you see that there are children who are faced with learning gaps, you can also enroll into the EI MindSpark program, which is run by our partner NGO that we work with. So in terms of being able to take the idea, but also do genuine concrete acts on the ground with all our partners, we are very, very excited that we've started the conversation, and we hope that over the next few weeks and months, we will have a lot of participation and support on this very important, close to our heart initiative.
Great. Before I let you go, my last question, which you've partially addressed already, but how are you planning to market, and what will be your media mix? Like if you've categorized it in any way, you can tell us about it.
Yeah, at P&G, I think on everything that we do, we start with the consumer. In this case, the consumer group that we are trying to reach is parents and guardians, because we are trying to really get a larger understanding and an empathetic understanding of what children go through when they're faced with learning gaps. So while we've just released the Hero Asset, which is a film that will go live on YouTube any moment now, we will have a full-blown maximization plan that will reach this target group that we are looking to reach. We actually have quite a few creative executions this year. We had many partners, even external brands like Amazon, Swiggy, Hero Cycles, and a host of P&G brands. Actually, all of these brands supported us to have the hiding girl integrated into their logos, which sort of drive conversation and a little bit of buzz about the campaign over the last few days. So we've had that already, but we'll also be doing quite a few things. You will be seeing art installations. You will be seeing sand art. You will be seeing all of many online platforms getting activated for us over the next few days and weeks. So yeah, I'm not going to say much. I'll just say stay tuned. It's going to be exciting.
Great. We are very excited indeed. And thank you so much for talking to us, Girish. All the best for the Shiksha journey and this new campaign. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Aditi, for the conversation.